Well, here I am. It's the 3rd of February 2022, and I've come for a little stroll up to the old Highgate Cemetery with Belinda McKenzie, my good friend Belinda. And yes, so here I am in Highgate Cemetery. I am overground though, I'm not dead yet, even though I'm in the cemetery. And yes, Belinda is the administrator, coordinator for Children First UK, yeah.
Which is a network.
Yeah, she's a network organiser. It's a network, Children First UK, yeah.
That's right.
And
the whole point is it's a network, it's not an organisation.
No.
That part hasn't really started yet.
Yeah, so anyway, I'll keep shut up and I'll let you tell us more about it.
Okay, well, thanks for introducing me. And thanks and apologies to John William Beatles, is it? Whose front doorstep I'm sitting on.
Beatles, yeah, without an A.
Yeah, but no, it's without an A and it's got an S, so it's Beatles. It's a good name for a mausoleum, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So,
Yeah, I wonder if he's related to John Lennon in any way.
Oh no, because that would be B-E-A-T-L.
That's what I say, yeah, there's no A.
Yes, anyway, it's a nice
Anyways.
one. So thanks to him, and thanks to you, Derek, for giving me this little bit of airtime, which I haven't really had, both in the physical sense of a nice walk in this lovely place, which it is. It's very peaceful. And
Yes, it's my pleasure, my pleasure.
And for all you do to keep people's issues in the public consciousness and meet people and spread the word about things that don't get spread, the word about them doesn't get spread by other means, you know, because we know our mainstream media is a little bit selective, shall we say, about what
most
issues
certainly.
they publicise or people they give prominence to. So people like me tend to hide in the undergrowth somewhere. And
Well, yeah, I do my
really
best. I do what I can, you know. I do what I can.
And so I'm particularly grateful at the moment because I've been a bit reclusive in the last year or two since this pandemic, which I found quite a shock to my system, to be honest, because I was hoping to steam ahead with this organisation, and another initiative, which is a little business that I was starting to run to help provide legal services to people who, you know, maybe have cases that they can't pursue with great ease and need special barristers and special presentations by special barristers to present the case after a period of time has elapsed, and they've got a claim or a complaint that they need solving, sometimes a serious miscarriage of justice. So I started that as well in the pandemic, and neither of these two initiatives started in the pandemic, well, not the Children First one, but the Priory Advocates Limited, the legal services, got completely stuck in the pandemic because of clients getting ill and barristers going bankrupt, a number of things like that. And myself going bankrupt as well. So
Tell
anyway,
me about
it's been a bit of a disaster, a trail of disaster, personal disaster, but here I am, and I used to say a lot.
All things must pass, and I think you've passed through it, haven't you?
They shall pass,
yeah.
yes. So I'm grateful particularly because here I am speaking to a camera after literally months and years properly. So.
I did catch you last year, didn't I, down at the BBC Broadcasting House,
yes,
on your megaphone.
Actually, I did have a little pop at the BBC on September the 11th, which was the 20th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks in New York and Washington. So that was a very special date because, of course, the truth movement, UK truth movement, grew out of people's investigations of that incident. And we found that the official story leaves out a lot of facts about that incident that really need to be part of the story, because then a whole different scenario emerges. If you factor all those facts together, you can see that the official story is extremely deficient in certain key facts. Anyway, we won't go there today because I'm going to talk about us and the children and what's happening today. Today I think, with year 3 of the pandemic, which is about to go into it, aren't we? We're not quite there yet, but it's coming up. And I think the first 2 years were a shock for a lot of people. I would say it's about the most shocking experience that people have had in their lives so far, people alive in our generation. So I think we've all felt shock. A lot of us have felt fear and dread because we don't know what's coming down the track and where it's all leading. Suspicion. I'm a very suspicious person, so my main reaction was suspicion that this could be another false event. And I was pleased to hear that false flag events are now part of official politicians' jargon. So Liz Truss, the Foreign Secretary, she was talking on BBC Breakfast Time radio, Today programme, and she said what's happening in Ukraine at the moment with the Russian troops massing on the border, eastern border, she didn't know whether it could turn into a false flag event. Now, I actually haven't heard mainstream politicians mention things like false flag events as cheerily and openly on the prime-time radio programme of every day. So there it was, false flag. And the false element in modern events, contemporary events, is the thing that bothers me, because this is where the official story sometimes is a cover for a different story, different scenario which has been covered up, and the public don't know. And if they don't know, they can't understand. If they don't understand, they can't take the right action to deal with whatever's being misrepresented to them. And they remain confused and in a fog about what's really going on. And this is all the problem of being alive in this particular period in history that we're in. I hope very much the truth movement will go from strength to strength in the second 20 years after the first main event that got it going in 2001, because we really need to solve this problem of misrepresentation of facts, omission of parts of reality which actually happened, mainstream media controlling the narrative, people who investigate being called conspiracy theorists and conspiracy nutters. And
when what they really are is fraud investigators.
Of course, investigators.
Not conspiracy
theorists.
theorists.
What bothers me about being a British person, because we were brilliant at investigation. We love all our detective books. We love murder mysteries, don't we?
Yeah.
We love all of that, because everything is a sort of murder mystery.
Well, some people study conspiracy theorists as like they don't believe in them, but they study them. You know.
Where's the sleuth? Where's the sleuth in all of us gone? You know.
I think there's still one in me.
Sleuths.
I think there's still one in me. Sherlock.
Yeah. Sherlock. Anyway, so this is my preoccupation. So I actually am under a restraining order. I'm not allowed to speak about certain cases that I've been involved with.
Yeah.
In a certain case. It's a voluntary restraining order, but I was tripped up on Facebook, so I don't go on Facebook anymore. And it was a deliberate trap that was set for me because it happened twice over. And the first time it happened, I was hauled up before the judge. My friend was having a trial, and I was in the court, and suddenly the police officer on duty or officer in the case came over with a piece of paper and showed me that I had done something on Facebook overnight. Now, I'm not very good and not very technical, and I certainly wasn't awake at the time that this was posted on my site. So I wasn't aware of this and quite shocked. And the judge warned me that day, and I didn't say very much from the dock, but basically what I did was write to the next day and said I wasn't aware of it, but had been aware of it, I probably wouldn't have known how to remove it, because that was the offence. I hadn't removed this offending. It was about a witness in the trial, right?
Right.
And the trial was underway, so it was a breach of judicial confidence.
Yeah. Against they said it was against community guidelines, I guess. Did
yeah.
they?
Anyway.
Well, they could have removed it, so I don't know.
Well,
anyway.
yes, but one of my friends was in America, and he put the offending name on a post underneath my post. So. On a comment underneath my post. So anyway, that was the first offence. So I wrote her and said, I'm very sorry, I'm not very technical, I wouldn't have even known how to remove it. And I apologised, and I said to her it wouldn't happen again. And then 2 weeks later it happened again, the same thing, in the middle of the night when I was asleep. Again, somebody, and I think it was the same person if I remember.
Troll.
Yeah, he again put this offending name in a comment on the post that I posted. And that time she said, well, you did. You promised me it wouldn't happen again, and it has happened again, so I'm inclined to do what I feel I should do, and she didn't go on any further than that. However, I'm going to give you a chance, so I've given you the chance to agree not to say anything more about this case or allow anything to be said on your site. And she put in exactly what she said. Okay.
Can't get away from the aeroplanes in here, can you? So it was like a voluntary gagging order.
I had a barrister friend with me.
Yeah.
Very nice man that I knew semi-socially and informally. And he'd agreed to come and help me with the second confrontation with the judge in the court first thing in the morning. And he hissed at me through the grill, "You better agree to sign this agreement or she's going to send you down." He hissed at me, so I thought, oh God, well, okay, I didn't want to go down.
No.
So I ended up with a suspended sentence for 2 years and this restraining order, so I still can't talk about a particular case. But never mind, there's plenty of other things to talk about.
Yeah.
And talking is a little bit my thing. So, the children's organisation, yes, we've had 2 years of pandemic, so trying to advertise, publicise, get people to join the children's network, which I'm setting
the
up.
Children First UK.
Childrenfirstuk.net that's its web name.
Yeah.
Trying to get people to join is like trying to draw hen's teeth, quite frankly.
Well, yeah.
Because people are very preoccupied with,
Well, this is the problem, and it's getting worse, isn't it, now?
The main issue, which is the COVID and the danger to life.
Yeah, survival of the fittest coming along now, isn't it?
That's right. And so I've not exactly given up, but I'm sort of just waiting for nature to take its course, because something's going to happen with the pandemic. It's either going to get much worse with new variants and new mandatory restrictions on people who don't get vaccinated or don't take PCR tests or whatever we're supposed to do. PCR test, I think, it's now discontinued, isn't it? But anyway, mandatory vaccines are still sort of hovering in the air. Austria is just going to make it mandatory from April for everybody over 18 to be vaccinated. No ifs and buts. And if you refuse, then you'll be...
You disappear into some gulag somewhere.
Something like that. So we're not out of the woods. In my own case, I didn't really want to be vaccinated. I'm quite old. I'm 75. And I grew up in the country. Feel myself to be quite robust. I've got a very good immune system. I don't want any foreign substance in my body at this stage of my life. That's
Quite
literally
rightly.
all I feel about
Quite
it.
rightly.
I just don't want something squeezed into my arm against my will, as Bill Gates would say. Let's get more jabs squeezed into the language they use. It's so vicious, isn't it? Jab,
It is.
stab, jab, jab,
It
jab,
is.
stab, stab, stab. Vicious, isn't it?
Oh,
This makes me suspicious in itself.
well.
There's a sort of malevolence about the language used.
Mm-mm.
So I didn't want anything squeezed into my own arm, thank you very much. And I don't know what's going to happen, but of course, maybe there'll be a sort of round-up of people like me at some point.
And me?
No idea. And you.
No, I think there's at least... is it at least a third of the population who haven't been jabbed?
Well, that's another statistic.
Another story, isn't it? Yeah.
Quite,
Well, there's a lot who haven't, put it that way.
yes, and then there's quite a lot of people who haven't reported symptoms from the vaccination. And there's also something whereby until you've actually been jabbed for 30 days of the period that you need for the vaccination to take, you're not part of the statistics.
And your immune system is wrecked as well.
Yeah. So
For some of them.
there's all kinds of grey areas around the statistics, and I think the truth won't really come out until maybe a couple of years more.
Well, I'm not sure on
How
that
many-
one.
how many were
It's
in
down
which
to
year?
people, backing people,
Yes.
people power basically. Backing people like Raina Fulmish on the higher level there, or Gesa Tiriani,
Yeah,
they're
no.
all trying to do the same thing, but it's
Yeah.
getting in the court, isn't it?
Well, that's right.
And that's the problem.
You went to court to support him, didn't you, 2 days ago?
Well, yes, the other day, yeah, but that was just a plea hearing, He's back up at court in October, Halloween.
Yes, because he wants to get into court because he wants to put on the court record
Yeah.
the facts as he sees them.
That's
of
right,
what's actually
yeah.
going on.
What he's gathered himself,
Yeah,
basically.
so hats off
But
to him.
Raina Fulmish, the German lawyer, he's got
Yeah.
a lot of people on board, big time, and Mike Yeadon,
Well, there's a huge
that old loony,
worldwide
the
doctors' alliance.
Undertaker guy,
There's a huge worldwide doctors alliance, which
That's right.
includes about 35 to 40 leading doctors, scientists, maybe more than that. Maybe I'm discrediting them. I'm sure there must be beginning to be hundreds of them now. But the
Any-
main ones, I think, are sort of 30 or 40 people. speak
Anyway,
regularly.
do you want to get back onto this children's...
Yeah, the concept is very simple. I don't like child abuse. I never have. I've aware of it from a very young age, and I thought it was about the worst thing I'd ever heard of. What happens to I mean, even poor little children in the Industrial Revolution having to go up chimneys to clean chimneys and sort of work in big factories and get their little arms and sometimes feet and other limbs chopped by the machinery and things like that. All that would upset me incredibly. So, and then the deliberate cruelty against children, of which there's plenty of examples in literature. I could only go on what was in books, but some of the childhood books that I read, children's experiences, if they were orphaned, really sent the shivers down my spine. I really found that. It's all part of my consciousness, you know, that children had, if they're lucky and they get through their childhood without anything adverse happening to them, they're lucky. And there are a lot of lucky children, and I was one. You know, I'd had really a good run of it. But I've always been aware that there's some sort of dark streak at the back of everything. You can only
well, intuition
dark
comes
culture.
into it in a big way,
Yes,
doesn't it, really? You know, it's...
and just in the house where I grew up, there was an underground tunnel which we used to go into, and in fact in the lobby of the beginning of this tunnel we had mushrooms growing in the cellar. So it was called the mushroom cellar.
Where was this then?
In a large country house where I grew up in North Bucks.
Oh, right, that was the Jacobean house.
Jacobean house. It originally was Cardinal Wolsey's house in the previous century, then it burnt, and so it was recreated as a Jacobean house. And it's now owned by the Open University, so it's been carved up into 6 flats. So that's all. But anyway, the point was, I was aware that there was this tunnel going underneath the house, underneath the garden and the fields, to the crypt of the church.
Right.
And I kept trying to find out from my older sisters what went on. Can we go in it? Let's go in it. Let's explore it. And then, of course, they were told you can't go in it because it's probably dangerous. You know, probably bits of it have fallen in.
Subsidence and things.
Yeah, so we couldn't go in it. So, but it festered in my imagination, right? And even in this churchyard, I happen to know that there are tunnels here, because I nearly fell in one off my bicycle in the 1980s. I was working in the British Museum, came back in the evening to give the 4 children their dinner, great, you know, pumping up Highgate Hill on my bike. Get to the top, and it's lovely to be at the top, and it's suddenly a flat. And so I was sort of looking around and looking at the setting sun and whatever I was doing at the time. And I nearly went straight into this sinkhole in the middle of Southwood Lane. And I looked down, and you could see it was part of an underground tunnel or walkway of some sort, and it was sort of blocked off at one end, and it had ticker tape round, but the ticker tape hadn't been there very long. I certainly wasn't aware. I literally didn't nearly go into it. But that showed me, and I already knew, that there were quite a lot of underground workings on this hill, and probably on the adjacent hill with the other village as well.
Yeah.
And I lived there when I first came to London. We lived there for 9 months as well in the other place. So
you don't want to mention that place then?
I don't even mention the word.
Well, it's just next door though, isn't it?
It's the other village anyway.
Yeah, the other village.
Right, so there's all this sort of dark stuff, and so I sort of found it rather alarming and sort of skated, you know, I did mainstream truth issues to begin with, because I decided in my old age I would do a bit more investigation. When my children grown up, gone to university, I would start actually doing a bit of research and investigation and see if I could find out more about how children get abused. And the first campaign I helped with was an Iranian charity that looked after victims of the regime, and they were hidden apparently in locations in Iran, and we donors sent money to keep them safe in Iran. It's a complex story, that one. I'm not going to go there, but anyway, the point was it was a children's charity, and that's what attracted me, because these children were in danger and under oppression. As we know, the Iranian regime is very oppressive. And it went on from there, and then the 9/11 truth issue came up, and then I did an anti-war campaign based on the laws of war, and one or two other. You know, I turned into a campaigner in my old age, if you like.